Okay, so for more than 300 years, this one image has just captivated everyone, right? Historians, storytellers, you name it. It's this mysterious prisoner, his face completely hidden behind a mask, locked away deep in the dungeons of France's famous Sun King. I mean, this is a story that's absolutely dripping with royal secrets and incredible power.
Yeah, that's right. This is where the story you think you know starts to completely fall apart. We're going to peel back all those layers of legend to get to the real truth. And honestly, it might be even more terrifying than the myth. We're talking about a man the state literally tried to erase from existence.
So let's set the stage. We're in 17th century France, and King Louis XIV, the Sun King, is in charge. And when I say in charge, I mean everything in France revolved around him. And for 34 long years, a man was held captive, his identity considered so dangerous that just whispering his name was a death sentence. Think about that.
So you might be asking, how is that even possible? Well, it was all because of this one little document, the lettre de cachet. You can think of it as a blank check for absolute tyranny. With just the king's signature, any person could just vanish. No trial, no charges, nothing. Your legal rights, your name, your entire existence. Poof, gone. And our prisoner, he was the ultimate victim of this terrifying system.
Okay, so if his name was totally erased, how do we know anything about him at all? Well, it's because even a ghost leaves a shadow, and that's where the investigation starts. We're going to follow the very faint trail this man left behind as he was moved all across France for over 3 decades.
And look at this timeline. It really shows you the incredible scale of this whole operation. We're talking 34 years, 4 different maximum security prisons. And there's one constant through it all: his jailer, a man named St. Mars. I mean, this wasn't just locking someone up. This was a career-long assignment for this jailer, all to guard one single human secret. They moved this prisoner across the country like he was some kind of precious but highly toxic package. Now, this isn't something out of a movie. This is a direct order in a letter from the Minister of War to the jailer. And it gives us a massive clue. The prisoner's crime probably wasn't something he did. It was something he knew. His voice was basically considered a weapon, and the punishment for using it? Instant death. Chilling. All right, so naturally, a secret this huge is going to lead to a ton of theories, right? Over the centuries, everyone from historians to novelists have put together a whole lineup of suspects. So who was the man whose face was literally a state secret? Let's dive into the top 3.
First up, you've got the Hollywood blockbuster theory. A secret twin brother of the king, his face hidden so he couldn't challenge the throne. It's super dramatic, sounds great for a movie, but there is absolutely zero historical proof. Then there's an Italian diplomat, Count Mattioli, who betrayed Louis XIV. The motive's there, for sure, but the timeline just doesn't add up. And finally, we have the one most historians lean towards, a simple valet named Eustache Daguerre. But that just brings up an even bigger question. Why on earth would only a valet need this kind of insane, unprecedented security? Okay, before we get to what's probably the real answer, we have to talk about the most iconic part of this whole legend, the thing that gives the story its name. We have to talk about the mask itself. So the image we all have in our heads is this cruel, heavy iron helmet, right? A torture device. Well, that was basically a brilliant piece of propaganda made popular by the writer Voltaire to make the monarchy look as cruel as possible. But the historical reality, it was something different, and in some ways, way more sinister. It was a mask made of black velvet. The point wasn't to cause pain. The point was the complete and total erasure of a human being's face. And we know this for a fact. This isn't just a theory. This quote comes straight from the diary of the lieutenant of the Bastille. He was an eyewitness. He saw the prisoner arrive in 1698 and wrote it down, clear as day, a mask of black velvet. So, the iron mask? Total myth. The velvet mask? That was the cold, bureaucratic, and terrifying reality. So after 34 years of total silence, the prisoner's life finally came to an end. On November 19th, 1703, in a cell in the Bastille, the man who officially didn't exist officially died. But for the state, his death wasn't the end of the story. No, it was just the beginning of the final, frantic cover-up. You see, the state's fear didn't die when he did. Officials swarmed his cell in this absolute frenzy of destruction.
They scraped the walls down to the stone. They burned all his furniture. They melted down everything he ever touched. This wasn't just cleaning out a room. This was a state policy of total erasure. They were terrified that even a single letter he might have scratched on a wall could bring the whole secret roaring back from the grave.
And the lies didn't stop there. They continued right into the official burial record. They gave him a fake name, Marchioli, which was probably a deliberate nod to that diplomat suspect, Mattioli, just to confuse anyone who might look into it. And get this, they listed his age as about 45, which is just impossible given he'd been in prison for 34 years. It was one last lie, a final red herring, to make sure this man stayed a ghost forever. So at this point, you start to realize something really important. The prisoner's actual identity, it almost doesn't matter as much. The real story, the one that still gives us chills today, is what his entire ordeal reveals about the terrifying absolute power of the state. So where do most historians land today? Well, the consensus circles right back to that valet, Eustache Doher. And you have to ask, why him? Because a valet is the perfect person to know a secret. They're invisible, but they're present for everything. They hear the whispers of a secret treaty, they see a royal affair, they overhear a dangerous plot. Doher was probably just a man in the wrong place at the very, very wrong time, who ended up knowing a secret he was never, ever supposed to know. And that really is the heart of it all. This man wasn't erased because of something he did. He was erased because of something he knew. See, in the age of the Sun King, an inconvenient truth was way more dangerous than treason. And the entire existence of one man, well, that was considered a pretty small price to pay to protect the flawless, all-powerful image of the king.
Look, we may never know his real name for sure. That secret probably died with him. But his story, once you strip away the myth of the Iron Mask, leaves us with a question that's so much more chilling and honestly timeless. His 34 years of silence serve as a warning, one that echoes through the centuries, about just how easily a state can control the truth and decide who gets remembered, who gets forgotten, and who gets completely erased from the pages of history.